Alright, so now let's go ahead and get started on working on coloring. So as I mentioned earlier, I got really impressed. As you heard earlier, I got really impressed with these Crayolas and how well they work. So I'm actually going to be using this. I think this will be for later projects maybe, and I'll just continue to test these out. These are actually a little bit chalkier to use. These are kind of almost like oil pastels, which is fine, but it's not good for this kind of textured paper. So if you want to go for more of a, just more of a regular sketchbook coloring thing, use Crayolas because that actually feels a lot smoother. So I'm going to be using Crayola just because, one, that's the cheapest option, and it actually works really well. So if you're going to get the 50 pack, that was only like, what, 12 bucks? So go ahead and use that. Yeah, but anyways, I take back what I said earlier on Crayola, how it sucks. It actually does not suck. It actually works really well. So, anyways, let's get started. Let's take our colors that we used for the skin here. So we used a red, a peach, I think we used a bit of a sand. No, we did not use that. Let's see here. We used peach. We used sand. We used mahogany. No, not mahogany. Doesn't matter. We'll use a red, and then we'll use a tan, and then we're probably going to be using a harvest gold. So these are the 4 colors that I want you guys to use when it comes to skin so far. So let's see. Let's go and recap. Red, harvest gold, peach, mahogany, possibly, sand, and tan. So let's get started with that. So first we're going to color in a very light layer of our peach. So as I mentioned earlier, don't put too much pressure. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see what this will look like close up. So I'm going to be coloring this in with a moderate pressure. I'm not going to go too dark, I'm just going to go moderate pressure and then just fill everything in. So as you can see, the texture of this works great when it comes to Crayola. I'm really impressed with this. This is a great alternative or great tool to use when it comes to coloring anime using color pencils. So notice how I'm applying even pressure on everything. Just do that. Make sure you don't harden and make sure you don't lessen your pressure or loosen your hold, because then that will make the coloring uneven. But so far, so good. Then we're going to be coloring in the neck, which will just be the same pressure once again. You want it pretty even so that you don't have too many holes or you don't have too many white spots. I know a lot of people like to color everything and make sure that there's no white spots whatsoever, but sometimes it's good to have some white spots just to show the values. So this is good for now. This is your peach. So a light layer of that will be good for now. Now let's go with our sand, which we will use underneath the hair, for example. So the hair will have a little bit of shadow underneath. So every time you see a little bit of hair, just color underneath it with the sand color. That will give a little bit of value. And make sure you press relatively hard, not too hard, but a little bit harder than when you press the peach so that the color can come through. I think this product is really good for this kind of style of paper because it works really well and with the smoothness of the paper. So the reason why the Prismacolors don't work as well on this sketchbook here is probably because this is a little bit too smooth. So Prismacolors work great with this. So I'm coloring underneath the neck area and the like. And around the collarbone with the clavicle. So that is my second value, which gives a little bit more. It gives some good value to this. It gives a nice kind of color to it. Now let's go ahead and add our sand, or sorry, not our sand, our tan, and then just kind of redirect the shading inside the hair. So don't worry if you kind of color over the lines here. Just do the best you can. Usually coloring over the lines is fine, especially because you're going to color over it anyway. So I also like adding darker areas along the eyes here, just to kind of pop out the whites of the eyes. And if I want to blend it a little bit more, I press lightly on top, so it's not like too dark. So notice how I'm pressing really, really lightly now so it blends in better. Also going to do the same thing down here. So far so good. I'm pretty impressed with this, I had to say. So if you notice that my coloring when it comes to traditional is a lot different from my digital, that's because the process is a little bit different. This looks a little bit more traditional, obviously. It looks a bit more like gradient, has a little bit more like smoothness. I wouldn't say smoothness, it just has a little bit of a different look to it. And that's because I'm kind of being careful here. I don't want to go overboard. I just want to go like, I just want to like make sure everything looks pretty nice and well blended. When it comes to digital, I can kind of go a little bit crazier with saturation, but this I'm actually going a little bit more careful. So now let's take a light brown. I forgot to mention that one, a light brown here with our Crayola, and just put in our darkest darks, which is just in the kind of areas where it's harder to catch light. So this is more of a straight on lighting, very standard. So add in just very, very subtly underneath the hair and around the eyebrows or the eyelids. Same thing with just adding a little bit of shadow underneath here and there, which is good. And then what I want you guys to do is take your peach again and then color a little bit more densely around the bridge of the nose area, just to give her like a little bit of a blush. And same thing down, add a little bit of more of a saturated peach down the chin, just to kind of show that, you know, it's kind of like more three-dimensional. Now, if you want, you can add some blush to this. I would suggest using a red and just very, very lightly going along the cheeks. Very, very lightly, just kind of coloring this over. And do not press. Just go very, very lightly. And once you see a little bit of tint, you're done. Because it's dangerous if you put too much red. Alright, so now let's also add a little bit of value around the clavicle using our light brown. So notice how well these blend. I'm actually really impressed once again. So that is good for the skin. And that will be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. And we'll be working on hair.